YouTube, what is up? It is Nisi here, currently a Masters player, solo player in the era of Dynamic Queue, but I'm going to take a break from raging about Dynamic Queue and competitive ranked and all that stuff, and I'm going to do a video about something that I think you guys would appreciate. I get a lot of messages all the time on my stream, on my channel, about how to get out of each elo. And, you know, aside from doing the 100 games to Diamond, where I specifically lay out strategies that I've used to get to Diamond with different champs, I thought I would do something a little bit more big picture oriented about each elo, the observations that I've made, the goods and basically the bads about each elo, and how I would correct it if I were to go back in time and my brain was just wiped, but I knew how to, like, do it, how to get the knowledge back. These are the strategies and tactics that I would use. And if this looks boring or disinteresting to you, then that's probably a sign that you're not going to go anywhere, because, to be honest, a lot of this game is just stopping and thinking about it for a moment and thinking about what you're doing wrong and what you can do to improve. It's questioning yourself, your judgment, and things like that in order to climb to the next level. So if that's you, if you want to learn, then pay attention, and I'll go through each elo, the bads, how I would go about getting out of each elo, starting with bronze. So with bronze, basically the game is overwhelming. That's why I've got like the fadey text in the background. There's a lot of stuff going on that you don't understand, and a lot of the observations that I see with bronze players are as follows. Normally, they're very emotionally unstable. They would rather rage than play. It seems a lot of the time that the players in bronze are immature, like emotionally immature. Maybe they're young guys that haven't really grown up yet, whatever, but that's the vibe that I get a lot of the times. What are the rules? It feels like bronze players don't even know half of the rules of the game. Sometimes it seems like they don't understand that they need to get CS and get XP in order to get gold. They don't know what pushing is. They don't know what their masteries do. They don't know what runes to even remotely have. They're always all over the board. Bronze players are often completely disconnected from reality. They think that they're better than they are, but they are completely clueless. This more so than any of the elos. They don't understand any champ. They don't understand a champ. They might know what a champ does, but they have no idea of, like, how to use that champ efficiently, how that champ is supposed to interact in certain team fights. They're just completely lost. A lot of the bronze players that I see must be trolling a lot of the time to get there. I think of KCTron right away. And then the mechanically inept players. If you are seeing this and you are sad that you are in bronze, that's fine. And that's probably a good thing. If you put the time in and play the games and keep these next points in mind, then you'll probably get out of it. All you got to do to escape bronze is accept that you need to play easy champs. You need to play easy champs that are not only easy to execute, but they carry, okay? You need to play easy champs that carry games. I put 3 big ones that I think would be great for a bronze player trying to climb. I put Wukong, I put Tryndamere, and I put Annie. All these champs can carry games really fucking hard in their own ways, and they are very, very easy to play. The other things you need to do is you need to start prioritizing CS over everything else. The next thing you need to do is you need to admit that you know nothing and shut the fuck up. Because odds are, if you're in bronze, I mean, honestly, in like 30 to 40 games, if you still are in bronze after using these champs and focusing on CS, you just need to shut the fuck up. You think you know more than you do, basically. You need to set a rune page and mastery that makes a mastery page that makes sense. Normally, you should copy pros. And then lastly, you need to fight to survive, not necessarily to kill. I know it seems fun to, like, ram your champions into other champions, but the game at its core is more about farming and staying alive. Bronze, all you got to do is farm and stay alive, and you'll basically just get big enough to where you can pretty much have people walking into you and you'll just kill them. That's how bad bronze is. Like, you need to someone needs to tell you the honest truth. You're bad. You're very, very bad, okay? But this stuff will help you get past that level and begin to understand the game a bit better. All right, so now let's move on to silver. So silver, you start seeing. Now remember, bronze and silver are about 60-70% of the player base. The young kids that are normally immature and normally won't invest the time into getting better. So you'll see in silver a lot of emotionally unstable people. The rules still unclear. CS pushing, backing, all that stuff is still unclear to a lot of these guys. Regularly in silver, I see players feed. I see players multiple levels behind. Like they still don't know how to get XP. They still don't know how to, like, just stay alive. The mid to late game is an absolute mystery. The lane starts kind of coming together, but mid to late, I mean, once the lane phase sort of roughly ends or a turret goes down, the game is just a free-for-all. It might as well be in bronze. The only difference is the lane phase can occasionally accumulate into more kills and leads. Itemization failures are still over like 50% on players. Like if I look at a random team of silver players, half of them I'll be like, what the fuck are these items? Mechanically, they're actually not that bad. Mechanically, they're okay. They still obviously make a lot of mistakes, but it's more about just not really taking the time to understand the game. They know how to click and move around. They know when to use flash. They know when to use heal, but they just don't get the game quite as well. So similar rules apply to Escaping Silver. A lot of strong champs I've selected for you. The next thing that I would say is work trading into your CS pattern. So as you're getting better at CSing, you need to start understanding how to trade. A lot of that just comes into practice, but you prioritize CSing first, and then you start working in those trades into your CS patterns. But the CSing, like in every echelon, every tier of the leagues that I'm talking about, the advice needs to build on that. So what I said in bronze, you need to focus on CSing. In silver, you need to start working in those trades into your CS patterns. You need to communicate with pings only. You don't even need to talk to anybody. There's no point of talking to anybody. You need to watch high elo gameplay beyond the 10-minute mark, okay? And then aside from all the other obvious things like dropping wards, but you need to watch the high elo gameplay at the 10-minute plus mark, because everyone knows how to lane pretty much. It's what the high elo players do after the point that should be start to be more important to you. And every time you win a fight or a turret, you get a kill, win a turret, you need to just back and reset right away. All right? Those are the big things that I think silver players really need to work on. Now, gold. This is where things start to get a little bit better mechanically. The hard games are very scary to gold players. If the game starts looking difficult at all, gold players really, really want to quit. Really, really bad. The rules are clear in gold, but players are still very lazy with the application. They know what the right move is, but they oftentimes will tunnel. They will chase kills now. But they know that they should be pushing, but they'll still do these like lazy things because they're like 6-0 on a champion sometimes or whatever. They will often in gold gamble with laners and throw lanes out of whack because they're still kind of learning how their trades operate, and sometimes they forget that dying early can be GG. The itemization failures are still there, but mechanically they are now getting to a point that I would say that they're decent. They're getting good mechanically. And then lastly, confidence issues still kind of apply mid to late game, where gold players don't know that they should ult, they should engage, they need to ult before they die. They just start to lack confidence after lane phase. One thing and one theme that you're going to notice throughout this video is I actually give a lot of credit to low elo players in lane. I have players in my sub games who are really low rated, and they routinely in my sub games demonstrate that they are capable of laning at a pretty high level actually, but their confidence levels are so bad that they in their mind they trap themselves in the elo that they're at. So I think a lot of it comes down to that. So how would I escape gold if I was stuck in gold right now? And if I was identified in this bracket, I would probably work a 3-champ lineup for the 2 roles, since there is dynamic queue. Dynamic queue doesn't affect players below diamond, like high diamond. So you're going to be playing 2 roles pretty much always. So you need to have about a 3-champ lineup for 2 roles. I would recommend, maybe that's even too wide. Maybe I would even say like 3 champs for the 2 roles that you're going to play, like strong champs and champs probably similar to the ones that I put before. Gold players need to oftentimes, now their CS and trading patterns should be pretty good, that they need to be able to identify and exploit weak lanes. So now you've practiced CSing, you've got consistent CS, you know how to work those trades in. Now you need to start looking for the all-ins with your summoner spells and your champs when they come to you. You need to start getting those leads and learning how to carry games out of lane phase. Now, when lanes are hard, you need to quickly identify that they're difficult, and you just need to play like a bitch and farm. Just farm well, play like a bitch. Learn how to play on the defensive. You never want to surrender in gold because you have no idea where the game is or where it's going. I'm telling you right now, I feed all the time on 100 games to diamond accounts early. Probably like 25% of the time, I don't get super fed and, whatever. My team's trying to quit, and then like 90 out of the 25% of the time that happens, like 90% of the time I just come back and win anyways because it's gold. So you need to just not surrender, shut the fuck up, and learn how a late game works and how to not get caught, how to try to stay alive in every fight, and then you'll see that games get thrown very, very easily. In gold, I feel like you need to learn how to carry, don't support. The idea that you're going to support kind of average players and climb fast is a misnomer in my opinion, and I think in gold you need to start kind of putting on your carry pants and understanding that if I want to climb and I want to climb quickly, I need to play in a way that takes charge of the game. So even if you are support, don't think like a support, think more like a carry. So think champs like Bard, think champs like Zyra, champs that grab the game by the balls and take charge of it. Lastly, treat every death like you can lose the game past the 18-minute mark. I see a lot of players that don't understand death timers and the importance of dying late game. Every team fight, especially if you're the fed carry, you need to stay alive in every fight. It's never like you're never worth dying like 1-for-1 when you're the fed guy. You need to understand that you need to control the game. You need to be like a point guard, like for an NBA team. You just need to be in control at the top of the key, watch it, working off your teammates and sort of baiting them. To be honest, that's what I would do for gold. Now for platinum, this is my personal one that I like to talk about. There's giant ego problems in platinum. Oftentimes, the biggest, like, the players are actually getting damn good at the game mechanically and in lane. But once they fall behind, they have no idea how to mitigate that failure because they have giant egos. But once they get ahead, they can do some damage with a lead when they get ahead. Personally, when I do the 100 games to diamond climbs, if I'm not playing champions that are ultra viable, this elo can be hellish for me sometimes, which, to be honest, I've never really spent too much time in platinum. But when I'm doing like the 100 games to diamond challenges, this is the elo where, like, if my champion is good, I just kind of breeze through it. And if my champion is sort of team reliant, I will get stuck here. Because a lot of these players have a big ego problem and they don't understand how to get carried often. They're actually pretty good mechanically, but a lot of times because they think that they're close to diamond, because they want to make diamond and they think they deserve it, their ego actually starts holding them back. And even though they probably mechanically are at a diamond level, they haven't quite gotten their psychological state in check. And this is something that keeps them in platinum and even like lower diamond, to be honest. So that's what I've noticed with platinum. Now, to escape platinum, I would start by ironing out the tiny errors. So your laning's getting pretty good. Well, what about the games where you just make a huge mistake and fail? Well, you got to clean that up. Say, for example, you get all-in level 2 by a Tryndamere in a platinum game. You can't let that happen anymore. Like, once you've seen it once you've made a huge failure in your lane once, you need to just plug that leak right away. And it brings me to my next point, giving up CS, mitigating failure. A lot of times I see guys, once they start falling behind, they don't understand that, like, some games in platinum, it's more about just keeping the game afloat and farming back in, because platinum players are very similar to gold players. They all throw. Honestly, throws pretty much happen consistently up until like D2 or higher. So once you've kind of fucked up your lane or lost a close fight that you thought was a pretty good spot, then you just need to mitigate the failure, be patient, let the game come to you. Trust me, if you're playing a champion that's worth a damn or is like a hyper carry, then you can always scale back up. That's why picking good champs are important. Consider the compositions too before taking the risk. Macro play is a weak point for platinum players because their mechanics are so good, their macro sucks. And, it makes sense. So consider the compositions. If you're playing like a Lee Sin, like early game champions like Lee Sin, LeBlanc, and Draven, and just like really early game aggressive champs, take aggressive risks and make shit happen. However, if you have a late game comp and you fall behind, or if it's going to be a bad thing when you fall behind, then don't take the risk. It's that easy, and just farm up and then try to play with power spikes a little bit more. Also, you are platinum, so a lot of players in platinum try to play whatever they feel like playing, and that's why they get stuck. The players in platinum know how to play certain champs really, really well. They may not know how to play the macro game, but they know how to play champs in lane really well. So if you pick a champ that you're uncomfortable with, and you're facing a guy at this range who's playing a champ that he is comfortable with in lane, you're going to get shit on. And it happens all the time on my climbs. Platinum players, like I said, their late game and their macro sucks. I exploit this elo all the time with late game champs. If I'm allowed to get to late game, I oftentimes will win at a platinum range, just because these guys don't know how to defend or how to handle themselves in the late game. They routinely just chase kills and die. They routinely like try to force weird barons, and just late game sucks. So you need to study. You need to go watch some pro gameplay. Watch it beyond the lane phase. Be patient, be thorough, and watch gameplay beyond the lane phase. The lane phase, everyone thinks win lane, win game. That's not the case anymore. League of Legends is a team game, and it's a macro game. That's how you need to win. That's what you need to master in order to climb. Lastly, a little tidbit, patient aggression based around team cooldown. So a lot of times, one of the mistakes that people make at this level is they try to force fights without their team having ultimates or cooldowns or mana or whatever. You need to think about, before you start a fight, like whose cooldowns are up. And if you have like a Malphite and his cooldown's not up, just wait the extra 30 seconds. If you don't have your ultimate and you want to teleport behind somebody, just wait the extra 10-15 seconds to get your ultimate up, then teleport behind somebody, because that way you see that it's going to have a higher success rate when you make that play. All right, and lastly, Diamond. This is the elo where people are pretty damn good. They're on it now. I see the failure as a thing that keeps people in the low diamond, and that's what I'm going to focus on for this. Because I think, honestly, like once you're diamond 2 or higher, you're pretty high level of this game, and there's no point of coaching you. It's just a matter of plugging all your individual issues. In diamond, one-trick ponies deviate too much. There's a lot of one-trick ponies in diamond who basically just deviate randomly. I see it all the time. I see people that get to diamond playing like Sejuani, and then like one day they get online and they decide that they're just going to play fucking Malphite all day. But they don't understand that what got them there is playing that champ. So, if you want to deviate, you really need to hammer it home in normals before you go into your ranked games. If you're sad that your Sejuani jungle only has like a 52% win rate, oh well. You better figure out how to make Sejuani. You better start grinding out the games or practice the fuck out of your champ in normals before switching it into ranked just out of nowhere, because that's how you lose elo. I see a lot of people who are good at bad champions, like I just said, basically. Champs that aren't necessarily like hyper carry champs, but they're amazing at those champs. They just can't do it alone. For me, obviously, I've been doing the Gangplank stuff. Gangplank gave me a high, like 75% win rate all the way up to Masters. I'm good at the game, but I'm also picking good champions, and I'm merging those two skills together. I'm taking a champion that's ultra viable, and I'm abusing the fuck out of it consistently. Routinely, diamond players fail in the late game. The early to mid game is actually getting pretty solid. Ultra late game, diamond players get really, really confused, and I see huge mistakes all the time. So same thing as before, but just keep extending your learning beyond like the 15-minute mark, the 20-minute mark, the 25-minute mark. Ego problems from the guys that played a lot of games to get to diamond. So I see it all the time. I had this guy Steb on my stream yesterday, who was like a super troll on one of my Smurf accounts, and he's got like 800 games played, and he's really mad about it. He's mad that he's not climbing anymore. If he fixed his ego problems mechanically, he seems like he'd be a pretty good player, but he needs to accept, and a lot of players in diamond need to just accept that they don't get the little nuances. They need to fix the little problems and not be so mad at themselves and their team. The mechanics of the players are good most of the time. I still see little mistakes, but ultimately you're not just going to be able to run every diamond player over that you see in the lane, and you need to expect that sometimes you gotta go, nod your head and be like, this guy gets it, and then just farm up with him and then try to outplay him in team fights. And lastly, exploitable because of incomplete knowledge. So I see a lot of one-trick ponies. I played this game for a very long time, and what you'll see when you're playing against people that have played for a very long time is I used to play Tryndamere. The first time I faced high in lane in mid, it was like D1 a couple seasons ago, I got absolutely shit on. And I was probably a better Tryndamere player than high is, or a lot of people are now, even then. But the reality is that some champions and some matchups are exploitable. And if you don't understand those matchups and the other person understands multiple parts of the game better than you, you're going to get beat. And you're going to get beat in lane, you're going to get beat in mid lane. So this game is an ever-increasing pit of knowledge. You're just increasing your knowledge. So always question yourself. Look back at a situation. Be like, what fucked that lane up? It's like, why couldn't I bully this guy? And then you start to build the story around the people that you're facing, and you start to understand, like, okay, that guy's good. So if I am facing good players, I can't expect to get away with the shit that worked in gold and silver and all that stuff. So how do you escape diamond? You stick to strategies that got you there, but you lower your aggression to catch mistakes. So in lane, a lot of the play, like in gold, you notice that I said, now you need to take advantage of your lanes. You need to make it happen. In diamond, it starts being more about picking spots to take advantage, but not playing like you're going to just hyper carry the game. Play smart, play calm, cool, collected, like a poker player, tight, aggressive, and that'll help you win. Learn how to defend against split pushing. A big mistake that I see in low diamond to high diamond is I used the Tryndamere example. I'll use it again. When I play Tryndamere in low diamond, I can climb the ladder just off of split pushing. Not taking ignite, I can literally win all the way up to diamond 2 just by split pushing. By diamond 2 and beyond, I always say that players know how to play tanks and they know how to defend split pushing. Even the mid laners who play like mages understand that, like, when you defend a split push, you just hold the turret and don't die. That's all you got to do. I see that shit all the time in diamond, people losing games because they can't manage split pushing, and that's what I use all the time. If I want to climb with a bad team and I'm fed, I just split push and take advantage of them. Diamond, there's a lot of players with big egos. I say drop the ego, just keep learning, keep putting little things into your arsenal. Learn how to switch gears. This goes back to what I was saying in lane. Basically, you need to understand that some comps are early game comps, some comps are late game comps. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. You need to understand how to quickly maximize the effectiveness of your compositions, and you need to be effective at doing it quickly. Oh, we're ahead? Let's go in right now. Switch gears. Oh, there's some guy out, we need to go and get him right now. It's 4v5, we need to go in. Watch the pros now more than ever. So when you get stuck in diamond, one of the things that will really help you is if you're playing a champ that you know is viable but you're not pulling it off, watch the pros and just sit and watch him and emulate everything, every move he makes. Emulate it. Notice how he stands versus minions. Notice how he reacts in mid to late game. Notice where he's warding in mid to... Mindlessly emulate until you understand why they're doing what they're doing. And I oftentimes recommend the Korean server for that shit because those guys are on point. Okay, so that's it, man. That is the elos explained. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I hope it helps you understand your elos and how I view it. What it really comes down to is just ironing, just picking safe, start with picking safe champs, getting the fundamentals down, and then, branching out and learning more nuanced stuff as you go. Hopefully this helps you, and hopefully I can just link this down in my fucking chat when someone's like, how I get out of silver, bronze, or gold, or whatever. You guys are all incredible. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, at me on Twitter. I'm building up my Twitter, so just YouTube comments are cool, and I'll read them. But if you want answers, just fucking shoot me a tweet at N3AC3Y. Build up my Twitter with me. I need help with that. Thank you guys so much, and I'm out. Peace. Crackers.